Alright, another shot back in my kitchen here. This is a little bit kind of backwards way of doing this, but this is basically Chouju, but how to do it from the start. Now, I've already made a video on the other end of this process, I should say, where you end up already having fermented rice and you squeeze the actual alcoholic liquid out of it. This is basically how you get to that point. So this is basically just straight up rice. I've rinsed it. This is I'm probably gonna have to rinse this again, but basically it's just take regular rice, rinse it a few times because it's kind of got this little kind of cloudiness to it. That's because there's little polishing agents and other kinds of just like dust and stuff on the actual rice. And what you want to do is wash that stuff off because there's very bad taste and blech. Anyway, you wash that off. This will take you a couple of times. Ideally, you want your water to run clear when you actually do one of these with it. That's clear enough for my taste because basically I'm just going to be sticking mold and bacteria and other funk in it, so I kind of don't care. I mean, I get it clean enough, basically. You can always be cleaner, though. But the main thing is you want it to soak after that. Make sure water's clean. Make sure it's nice and clean for when you go to actually soak it. You soak it for about a half an hour, at least I do. And after that, you just stick it in a straight-up rice cooker, hit the button, wait for it to, and then it's ready to go. So I'm going to go ahead and let this soak, and I'm going to get it cooked up, and I'll show you how that looks in the cooker tray whenever it's all done. Okay, so I've got my rice cooking, and that's going to go until the thingy goes. And all you need to do is just take like regular cooked rice, just straight out your rice cooker or straight out your boiling. Do not use like instant rice or anything like that because that's just rubbish. I'm using just like a standard El Cheapo store-bought rice because it's cheap. Ideally, if you want to get the best output, you use like an actual glutinous sticky rice. And for the record, there is no gluten in glutinous rice. But the main thing that you need in order to actually turn rice into booze are these. Little Chouju, I think I'm saying that right, kind of ish. Little yeast balls. You get these at your local Asian supermarket. I got these at H Mart. And what it is it's a ball of yeast along with special mold and bacterial cultures. Now the yeast by itself does not do squat to the rice. What the mold and the bacteria does in these is it turns the starch of the rice into sugar, which the yeast then gobbles up and farts out booze. So both of these are basically the same thing. It's one rice ball plus about a tablespoon of flour. The flour adds a little extra nutrients for the yeast. This is the same thing here, except this one also has a cup of water. Now the reason why I throw water into this one is because basically I kind of like to get things a little more active. And this kind of goes for like the more long-term Kickstarter and slow burn, basically. But what you're going to do is take all this and just kind of sprinkle around, and then just kind of start dripping this in. Dripping? Is that even a word? Dripping? You drip this in, just pour it around loosely, and then stir it around in the rice. And when everything is good and gooey and well coated, you go ahead and stick it into a nice, clean bowl. And then cover it. Let me try that again because for some reason my hand hit the button that stopped it from recording right at the end of that. Okay, so basically after you get everything mixed up, throw it into the bowl, cover it loosely with like some plastic wrap or something like that. And when you do that, you want to leave a little hole in the side because this will make gas. And if that gas is bottled up in something, boom. And that's how you end up getting like exploding beer kegs and shit. Okay, look. Now, if I can hopefully manage to not grip this in such a stupid way that my thumb accidentally stops to record, I'll go ahead and manually stop it here and let you know when I'll get back to you when I'm actually mixing the, this into the rice. Alright, now just about ready to go ahead and mix everything in. I've had to let this is cooked rice, I've had to let this sit for a little bit because I want to make sure I can put my hand over it and not feel heat coming off of there. At least not anything more than about maybe body temperature. I have to finish this up kind of quick here because my battery is running down. Because while I was waiting for everything to cool down, I was watching YouTube videos, which is not good for my phone battery. Anyway, the whole point here is we want to get all this stuff here incorporated into here. Now, this here is a cup of sugar. Or actually, it's a quarter cup of sugar. Blah, blah, blah. And the reason why I add this is, one, it gives the yeast a little bit more fuel to work with, but also helps kind of sweeten up the taste. Because the overall end product is going to be actually very, very tart otherwise. Apparently it's a little humid in here because everything's kind of sticking to the bottom of the thing. Okay. Now the main thing that you want to remember is if you put the yeast in, you want to make sure that your rice is like a good room temperature, like basically not straight out of the cooker. The reason why is you can shock the rice and possibly, not shock the rice, shock the yeast and possibly kill it. I got rice stuck in the brain, sorry. Alright, so got our mix. Just go ahead and sprinkle it all around. Now make sure all your bowls and utensils are clean. You don't necessarily have to go through all the rigmarole of, sterilizing everything for an hour and a half in an autoclave, or, going to ridiculous means in order to get everything as absolutely surgical grade pristine as possible. Basically, as long as it's clean, has been through the dishwasher, etc., it should be fine. Go ahead and mix this up because all that stuff settles down at the bottom. Every so often I hear the most bizarre bird. Okay, well, I'm going to have to do a quick jump here. There we go. Alright. Now from here, all you do is just make sure everything is well mixed and cover this whole thing over with just a nice piece of plastic wrap. Make sure you leave a little spout where it's not pressed down and sealed, because you want a little bit of airflow to get out, because this will make actual CO2. So we'll go ahead and end this video here because I need to actually make sure that this is well mixed and everything's incorporated nicely, and I need two hands to do that. And plus, there's really not much else to see. It's literally just me mixing this around and just covering it over with plastic wrap. At which point you let it sit for a week, and then you check out my other video. Right, other than that, that's pretty much it. You just take your little magic powder from China, Hong Kong, mix it in with your cooked rice, make sure it's all good and goopy and kind of soupy, and just let it sit for a week. And now, normally you would use, this is 2 cups of rice uncooked, which cooked turns into about 4 cups. Normally you would use about 1 actual yeast ball. I went ahead and did 2. That's about a tablespoon of the actual material. The reason why I did 2 is because I want to make sure that I get a good, fast, hardcore fermentation instead of having to wait like a month, because you can let these things sit for ever, and it'll end up getting you a little better output, just slightly more. But it's kind of weird actually watching this, because over a couple of days you'll get a little thin layer of mold across the top, which is normal. Should be kind of a thready, kind of like when your cheese goes bad kind of mold. Well, maybe not quite that bad, because that tends to turn green and weird. Basically, it's kind of this little kind of thread, almost looks like little mushrooms kind of thing going on the surface. And the rice itself almost seems to kind of melt. And that's basically just the actual starchy hull of the rice breaking down. But yeah, normally you only use 1 ball. I'm using 2 just because I'm impatient. Alright, so basically, this is pretty much the end of it right here. Just going to go around and just make sure you got a little well in the middle. Reason why stuff collects in here. Beyond that, though, this is pretty much it. So if you like this video, go ahead and check out the other video of the other end of this process, which is basically taking all this rice and putting it into either cheesecloth, or I was using a nice fine grain handkerchief that's actually a little tougher, a little sturdier than the cheesecloth, and just squeezing the actual booze out of it. Make sure everything's Okay, so this is the official end of the video because I took a little too long and my phone said, "Hey, stupid, you're out of power!" Click. Okay, so, yeah, basically the only thing you have left to do after you get your yeast and rice into the bowl is basically just loosely cover it with a little cling wrap. I had cling wrap and cover on the brain so they kind of mix and turn into a mess. But you loosely cover it with cling wrap and just leave a little space where it's not completely sealed because it will make gas and you want that to escape. Other than that, just cover it and let it sit for a week and there you go. After a week later, you got booze. And yes, I am filming this with my phone, again, in really odd lighting. I'm hoping that it doesn't look too ate up, but it probably looks terrible anyway. Regardless, if you like this video, check out the end process video. Also, check out my other videos. Recommend them to your friends. Like, subscribe, leave a comment, hit the little ding bell on the side of the thing. Other than that, that's pretty much it. And I'm going to have to see if I can figure out how to shut this off without showing you all the crap in my room. Aha! See you next time.